Congresswoman, you sat before, Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi.
No, can I finish my answer?
So if you never heard of Pam Bondi before, she's Trump's Attorney General who once built her entire political brand on being a tough-on-crime prosecutor who fought to put human traffickers behind bars. But when Jeffrey Epstein's victims showed up in her own hearing, she treated apologizing to them like it was beneath her dignity. She refused to even turn around and look at them, hid behind procedural excuses, blamed her predecessor Merrick Garland, and dismissed a Democrat's demand for a direct apology as unprofessional theatrics she wouldn't get in the gutter for. And in this clip, she finally gets her comeuppance when Representative Jayapal forces her to sit there, frozen, while the survivors she refused to face stare her down in silence. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
Good morning, Attorney General Bondi, right here. We are joined in this room by some of the thousands of survivors from Jeffrey Epstein's horrific sex trafficking ring. They have shown such incredible courage in speaking out, in demanding accountability to bring the predators and pedophiles to justice. The Epstein Files Transparency Act required your Department of Justice to disclose the perpetrators connected with Epstein's criminal activities and to redact the information of survivors to protect their identities. Let me show you what actually happened. First, in violation of the law, your department has shown a pattern of redacting the names of powerful predators. Here behind me is one example of an email from Epstein to a man whose name was redacted. The email reads, quote, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video." Only after members of Congress demanded that we see the unredacted files did the world learn the name of this individual, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the chairman and CEO of a company that had financial ties to President Trump's business and personal ties to Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon. Second, the survivors were not similarly protected, also in violation of the law. Here is another email titled Epstein Victim List. We have blurred the names of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only one name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the names, the emails, and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs and even the identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names. Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein. In their words, quote, "This release does not provide closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades." To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before, Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi,
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a specific question that I would like you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors. This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she
It
doesn't
is
like the
my
answer.
time.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't
a
she ask
question.
Merrick Garland this
I am
twice
reclaiming
when he
my
sat in my
time, and
chair?
when I
will
reclaim my
continue to
time,
answer.
it is
Mr. Chairman, the
my
gentlelady has
time.
reclaimed
I'm
her
not going to
time.
get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman,
say
I'll
this.
direct it to
What a
you.
massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a
Mr.
question.
Chairman, will you
Chairman.
restore her time? The witness
I'm
is
not gonna
interrupting.
get in the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time
doing
and
theatrics.
let me have my time.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed with your final
Thank you.
17 seconds.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only
Regular
to
order.
then say that there was no list. Your deputy, Todd Blanche, met alone with Ghislaine Maxwell and transferred her to a
What you're about to witness is not just a political moment. It's a case study in human psychology, power, and what happens when institutional armor replaces basic empathy. I want to walk you through the exact exchange, the words, the body language, the physical distance, and then pull the lens back. Because this wasn't just about Jeffrey Epstein's files. This was about whether our systems still see victims as people or as props. Let's set the stage. It's February 2026. Attorney General Pam Bondi sits before the House Judiciary Committee. This was supposed to be routine oversight, but everyone in that room knew the real subject was the ghost of Jeffrey Epstein, specifically, how the Department of Justice has handled the release of sensitive documents. And right there, seated just a few rows behind Bondi, are the survivors. Women who were trafficked and abused as children. They didn't come for a soundbite, they came to be seen. Enter Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal. She looks at these women, then at Bondi, and she asks the Attorney General to do something shockingly simple. Turn around. Look at them. Apologize not for Epstein's crimes, but for the Justice Department's recent failure to properly redact the victim's personal information in the released files. This is the moment the hearing leaves the rails of policy and enters the arena of raw human reaction. Bondi freezes up. Actually, she does worse than freeze, she deflects. Instead of pivoting her body, she pivots the conversation to her predecessor, Merrick Garland. Jayapal presses again, insisting she take responsibility for the harm the DOJ caused these specific women sitting inches away. And then Bondi delivers the line that will define the entire hearing. I'm not going to get in the gutter for her theatrics. Pause and absorb that phrasing. By asking Bondi to literally face the people her department hurt, Jayapal was, in Bondi's view, dragging her into a gutter. That word choice suggests empathy isn't a duty for the powerful. It's a trap. It's not accountability, it's a performance. But who was performing? The survivors later described feeling humiliated, standing there waiting for an apology that never came, treated, in their words, as a circus act. Now, Bondi's defenders would point out that she did apologize earlier in her opening remarks. She said she was deeply sorry for what any victim has been through. And that's the crux of the problem. A blanket statement to a microphone is safe. It's procedural. But a direct apology, face-to-face, requires a human transaction. It requires lowering yourself to the level of the person you've wronged. Bondi couldn't do it, or she calculated that showing that kind of vulnerability to a Democratic Congresswoman's request would be a political loss. And this is where we have to talk about the audience of one. Analysts noted that Bondi's entire posture wasn't aimed at the committee or the survivors. It was aimed at President Trump. In a hyper-partisan environment, showing contrition to the other side's argument is perceived as surrender. Bondi didn't go there to mend fences. She went there to fight. She called a Democratic lawmaker a washed-up, loser lawyer. She touted the stock market. The visual of her refusing to turn around became the perfect metaphor for an administration that views compassion for accusers as a weapon against power. Let's talk about those visuals. You have a row of women survivors of unimaginable trauma, literally standing behind a seated government official. In cinema, this is a power shot, the voiceless looming over the establishment. Jayapal asks them to raise their hands if they haven't been able to meet with the DOJ. Every hand goes up,